Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Here are tonight's main stories.
Unwanted water feature, the desperate measures taken by these Halifax homeowners to stem the tide flooding through their properties.
What's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear is losing the property.
It's that serious?
It is, yeah.
Why?
The houses are timber framed, so the more water that goes in, the more damage it's going to do.
Modern-day rustlers make off with a valuable pony in Sheffield, prompting a £20,000 reward and this promise from its owner.
I'm not going to give up. I will never ever give up. Never. Never. Not until he's back. He's been good to us and I owe that to him, to get him home.
Hooray for Heather. Find out how this simple plant adorning the Yorkshire moors could help save the planet, as well as making perfect pizzas.
And yesterday I mentioned signs of the seasons. It's also the autumn season for the Aurora borealis, and one or two of you saw it overnight last night. More of your pictures in the forecast a little later on.
OK, first to the residents who have resorted to desperate self-help measures to save their homes after a landslip sent thousands of gallons of water flooding through their neighbourhood.
People living in Templars Gate on the outskirts of Halifax have been pleading with Calderdale Council and Yorkshire Water for 2 years, but say their cries for help have been ignored.
But now the situation has taken a dramatic turn for the worse, prompting neighbours to together build their own makeshift flood defences. John Hill reports.
So you can see we've had to put the diversion in. Originally it was coming through the garden, down the steps like a natural waterfall.
It's an unwanted water feature that Colin never planned for and now threatens to undermine his house and affect those of his neighbours. This was a few days ago, before Colin had rigged up emergency hoses to divert the water away from his house. Cascades spilling down the steps and along a homemade heavy-duty plastic sheeting channel and into the drain on the road outside.
This pipe's not going to take much more, is it?
It's a nightmare that's left him and them fearing the worst.
Are you genuinely worried that your house could go?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've had structural experts round just as to try and give some help and support, and they've said categorically there's going to be some damage to the foundations. I just don't know where we go.
Colin says his hillside garden and the land above their homes has been getting wetter and wetter. Then there was a landslip, and then 3 weeks ago, a torrent.
So we had these down for, we've had them down for about 3 weeks now.
Sandbags, yeah.
Yeah.
Julia is next door to Colin.
What's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear is losing the property.
It's that serious?
It is, yeah.
Why?
Because we've been told that the land is moving more, and the more it moves further down, there's pockets of holes in the land. The houses are timber framed, so the more water that goes in, the more damage it's going to do.
The land above the houses includes natural springs, but also a 19th century aqueduct now maintained by Yorkshire Water, which supplies tap water to Halifax. The neighbours claim leaks from the company's network could be to blame.
Neil, your aqueduct is up there. The neighbours say there are leaks. Have they caused their problems?
Well, what we've been doing, we've been looking into this since April, working with the council. So we've tested our aqueduct and we can't see any significant leaks coming out. Of course, this issue started really in August when we had a lot of rain. We know there are a lot of land water drains here. We know things have been moved with the development. So we just need to work with everyone to get to the bottom of it.
Yorkshire Water, the council, they're all just pointing fingers at each other and we're getting absolutely nowhere.
Just constantly going round in circles, isn't it? And just not getting any clear-cut answers or any resolution or any peace of mind, really.
No.
We're stuck between everybody. All we keep doing is asking for help. I just don't know where we go.
Calderdale Council says it isn't responsible for any of this land, but it's working with Yorkshire Water to try and identify the source of the flood. For these neighbours, a solution to their problems can't come soon enough. John Hill, ITV News, Halifax.
Well, let's hope they do get that solution very soon. Now, a family from Sheffield has launched a nationwide appeal after their prize pony was taken from his stable in the middle of the night in what's believed to be a stolen-to-order targeted theft.
Yes, a £20,000 reward is being offered for the safe return of the pony named Mr Sheffield. Well, Holly Goodall is in Sheffield for us this evening, where the pony went missing. Holly, where are the family now in their search?
Well, it's been a horrible 5 weeks for the family, but today they've told me they won't stop until they bring Mr Sheffield home to this very field where he was born, overlooking Sheffield. Well, the search to find him has been gaining momentum since they reached out to the charity that specialises in locating lost and stolen animals, and they're throwing all their resources at the appeal to find him.
We've had him since day we were born, and we knew our specialty were from day we put his eyes on him. He's a little character, he's a little monkey, he's naughty at times, and he likes to play with his toys. He's got his apple that he swings around in air.
Mr Sheffield is much more than a prize pony, but a cherished member of the family. His disappearance just over a month ago has left a huge hole.
It's impacted kids, it's impacted our relationship at points, but then on other points it's brought us stronger. He is part of us, and no matter what a price anybody could have put on him, I wouldn't have parted with him.
I'd go down there just to go and sit on him in the stable, go and muck him out for my mum. We just all want him back.
It's thought that Mr Sheffield was lured out of his stable in the middle of the night on Friday the 11th of August. He was then walked up the road to a quiet side street and loaded into a van that had been doing circuits of the village of Grenoside. He was then driven away over the hill towards Manchester. This is the last CCTV footage of the vans believed to have been involved in the theft leaving the village. But after that, the trail goes cold. A police search is ongoing, but the family have launched their own investigation with a £20,000 reward for the pony's return. With the help of the charity Beauty's Legacy, they've reached out to people all over the UK to try and find him.
Well, we've launched a big campaign across social media. We've spoken to different police forces up and down the country. We've got a lot of different organisations working with us. The thoughts are he's possibly in Wales, so we're working with colleagues over there, and the race is on to try and find him.
According to the police's National Rural Crime Unit, horse theft is relatively uncommon. But there are concerns that current rules around the identification of horses can make it harder to recover them when stolen.
Already all horses should be microchipped. With the ID system as it stands at the moment, the horses also have a paper passport, and this is relatively easy to fake. If the horse had a digital ID, that would make it much easier for an owner, or indeed a vet, or a police officer to check on the background of that horse.
Mr Sheffield's DNA profile is on record, and so the family hope that if the thieves do attempt to sell him or his foals in the UK, he would be identified. But their determination to find him is unshakable.
I will never ever give up. Never. Never. Not until he's back. No. I owe that to him. He's been good to us, and I owe that to him to get him home.
OK, you're watching Calendar still to come tonight. They've got it licked. It's a collective big birthday for lollipop lads and ladies like Fiona here from Normanton. So for how long have they been helping us safely across the road? Stay tuned to find out.
Hiya.
Hello.
Are you expecting a food parcel? How are you? I'm all right.
And talking of community heroes, we'll meet the latest of our Pride of Britain nominees, Tanisha Bramwell, who's been on the front line of the cost of living crisis in Dewsbury.
3 people have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after a man died in a light aircraft crash near Thirsk. The plane came down in a field near Bagby Airfield in July. The only person on board, 21-year-old Harvey Dunmore, died. North Yorkshire police say 3 men aged 37, 55 and 68 have all been arrested in connection with the death and have now been released under investigation.
Tomorrow marks the 16th anniversary of the disappearance of Andrew Gosden, a 14-year-old Doncaster schoolboy who got on a train to London and, despite numerous high-profile campaigns, hasn't been found since.
This is the last confirmed sight of Andrew as he arrived at King's Cross Station. He'd earlier left his home for school, but instead took £200 out of his bank account and bought a one-way ticket to the capital. Over the years, experts have produced images of what Andrew might look like as he aged.
In 2021, 2 men were arrested on suspicion of kidnap, human trafficking and the possession of indecent images of children. Both were released under investigation and police inquiries continue.
Well, a little earlier I spoke to Andrew's dad, Kevin, from his home in Bolby. Kevin, thank you for speaking to us. It's 16 years tomorrow since you last saw Andrew. How often do you think about him?
Daily. Of course, I mean, every day we think about Andrew. You can't not wonder. I mean, to be honest, I was thinking yesterday, if he'd been missing 16 days, it would have been enough trauma for a lifetime, never mind 16 years of searching.
It must be incredibly tough when this anniversary rolls round every year. Does it get any easier?
No, if anything, it feels harder each year because more time has elapsed since he disappeared way back in 2007. So it feels as though the chances of ever finding out what happened are another year further away, and we still have no idea if he's alive or dead.
We've seen those images of what Andrew would look like now. Do you still hold out hope that he is still out there?
That fluctuates, but I always do think someone somewhere surely must know something.
If Andrew happened to be watching this right now, what would you say to him?
I would say, if you, bearing in mind obviously he's 30 now, if he didn't want to make direct contact to say that he was still alive, it would help us fantastically if he contacted either Missing People, the charity, or the police, and provided some information to demonstrate that it was him, some shared memories or something, and just let us know that he was okay. And if he's got any problems, to let us know if we can offer any help and support.
Kevin, we appreciate how tough it is at this time of year especially. We appreciate your time that you've taken to talk to us on Calendar Tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The ITV evening news continues here at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Lucrezia Millerini.
After weeks, an international manhunt comes to an end. The father of 10-year-old Sarah Sharif, found dead in her Surrey home, will arrive in the UK tonight, along with 2 other family members. We'll have the very latest. Also, a city in ruin. More than 5,000 now confirmed dead after floods in Libya. Thousands more are displaced as aid struggles to reach those in need. Uncovering the illegal fake pharmacies that pose a deadly risk. And the bumps in the road, slowing down the repair of England's potholes. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Lucrezia, we will now, whether as children, parents or grandparents, will all be familiar with those happy, cheery faces you're greeted with every morning when you're on the school run.
Yes, yes. Yes. We're talking about the humble lollipop man or woman on your road or down your street. And did you know that this year marks 70 years since the start of the Crossing Patrol Service?
I didn't know that, but they've had a rather bumpy journey during the 7 decades, making sure we all cross the road safely, as Raheem Rashid now reports.
Lollipop men and women have been protecting school children for 70 years now, safely guiding them to and from the school gates since 1953. Hi. Fiona has held the protective pillar of her community in West Yorkshire for 17 years and says the service at Normanton Common Academy has never been more vital.
It's all about road safety. And what's better than somebody first thing on the morning on the way to school? It's first person to see that's anything to do with school, teaching them road safety. But it's just so much enjoyment that I get from it, seeing little kids come across road and they're so happy. And they just make my day.
We must all cross the road with the lollipop
Despite the name change to school crossing patrols, the role has stayed largely the same over the years. The uniform is similar, now appearing brighter and more reflective. Officers still have to deal with unruly drivers, and concerns about job security have stood the test of time.
How did you feel when you learned that you'd be getting the sack in April?
Oh, hard to describe really. I don't really feel that they've got the right to do it.
Figures show those historic issues remain a present-day problem. Since 2009, the number of lollipop men and women has fallen from around 7,000 to an estimated 5,000 in more recent years, a loss of just under a third of all school crossing patrols.
Hi, Thea. Thea, all right?
But for those left, protecting families as they walk into school has never been more important.
Thank you. See you later.
Since the 50s, things have changed. We have, often cameras outside of schools, zebra crossings, street markings, really good signage. Do we need lollipop ladies still?
I think we do. I mean, I don't have a zebra crossing and I don't really have a camera here, but I think they're very important to teach children how to cross the road properly. It can be a little bit dangerous.
The government has thanked those like Miss Hill for their service and says it's given nearly 10% more cash to councils in the last year, which could be spent on securing school crossing patrols.
Come on, young gentlemen, you may cross.
So while it's been a bumpy journey for our crossing patrol officers over the last 70 years, it seems more likely than not we'll be seeing officers like Miss Hill on our streets for many more years to come. Raheem Rashid, ITV News.
Staple part of my childhood, that. We've not got a lollipop person, at the school my kids
Have you
go
not?
to.
No, well, I didn't have one growing up, but my kids had the most amazing lollipop man. He was called Fred. Worked in York.
Fred.
Yeah, and if he's watching, hello, Fred. He was just absolutely brilliant. He used to high-five the kids every morning.
Brilliant.
High-five
What
everyone,
a buzz
actually.
when you're going to school.
It was
Send you off with a high.
Loved him. Now, the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards is one of the biggest events in the showbiz calendar. And all this week, we're showing you fantastic fundraisers, hoping to represent Calendar as Fundraiser of the Year.
Yes, our third nominee is Tanisha Bramwell from Dewsbury. Now, over the last few years, she's dedicated her time to raising £100,000, supporting thousands of people struggling with the cost of living in West Yorkshire. Sarah Clark has more.
Tanisha Bramwell is committed to making a positive change.
Hiya.
Hello.
Are you expecting a food parcel? How are you? I'm alright, but not looking after us anymore. You can't get the parcels from there anymore. No, there's other families that have come on, which is understandable. At the end of the day, the food bank that we set up is just to help people. It's not anyone's fault that
things are becoming harder, and as things are becoming harder, those support packages are becoming less and less. So it is inevitable sometimes that food banks are going to become lifelines. In the community that I'm from, I was helped a lot when I was younger, so that a lot of the social needs that I target, I've lived through.
The 27-year-old founded Bramwell's Food Bank in Dewsbury a week before the first lockdown, aimed at helping those on the high-risk register. Over time, demand grew. A total of 90,000 struggling and vulnerable residents have now been supported by Tanisha.
It's really, really nice to know that we're helping, but at the same time, no matter what's done in a day, there's so much more to do. 90% of our food bank users have families, so knowing that we are that lifeline that enables a child to be fed, that's the drive of it.
She fills a gap where there's no one else to fill, and the people that would fall through the cracks get picked up by Tanisha. She's kept it going and it's grown, and so many more supporters now, and everybody knows who she is, and it's just amazing what she's managed to achieve from nothing.
Hey Tanisha, you alright? I've got your hot meals. Hello.
Tanisha and her team spend hours delivering 70 food parcels each day all across West Yorkshire.
Leeds and now Wakefield we've took on, so we've took on like 5 major communities.
When do you find time for yourself?
When I'm delivering food parcels.
She's always at it 7 days a week, taking these food parcels out, tops the electric up or the gas at the same time. People have watched it on social media, and I think that's where a lot of the funding's come from. And she's helped a lot of people out that's been in dire straits, some of them.
As well as sponsorship, the community activist, with the help of youngsters, has organised family events, bucket collections and bag packs, raising over £100,000 for the cause.
But at the heart of it all is providing opportunities for young people and empowering them in many ways through education, through project work and so much more.
The fundraiser says she'll continue her mission to bring that change and improve the lives of others. Sarah Clark, ITV News, Dewsbury.
She's an absolute superstar, isn't she, Tanisha? And our last fantastic fundraiser will feature on tomorrow night's calendar.
It will, don't miss it, make sure you watch. Kerry,
hiya.
What news of the weather? It seems to be changing all the time. Hot,
Very
cold.
topsy-turvy this week, but of course it was a fresher night last night and we had clear skies, so hopefully most of us got a few more hours in than we did earlier
It's
last
cold
week.
this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
On the playground this morning at drop-off, I was cold.
3 or 4 degrees. And
well, my daughter was demanding she put tights on rather than socks this morning.
Yeah, well, a chilly 3 or 4. Rurally last night, so yeah, not quite as cold tonight compared to last night. It was delightful in Dewsbury today, plenty of blue sky and cloud there, and wonderful in Whitby. A big thank you to Pete for this. Also, we've been talking about seasons, so I thought I'd show you this because we're sort of kicking off the space weather season. This was by Tom Wright, actually in Northumberland. So we did get an alert last night and I thought, probably won't see it for us, not at this early stage. But a big thank you to Bez Beresford and Andy Ward who took this video around midnight, said it was all kicking off in North Yorkshire there. So a big thank you for sharing weather photos at itv.com as always. And you tend to get a peak in that season around the equinoxes, of course, spring, and we're heading towards the autumnal equinox. As well.
Amazing.
I know, yeah, I've only ever seen it and not in this country, so not great.
Well, you're lucky to have seen it though, Kerry.
I know, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and it does look magnificent. So keep the signs of autumn coming. This was from Sandy Nicholson. And just before I go, this is not an apple. You said earlier, I showed it you earlier, Chris, you said, can you eat it? Absolutely not. It's an oak apple gall, and within it is the larva of an oak gall wasp. So there you go.
If it was an apple, that'd be an outrageously big leaf.
It would be, so yes, or a very, very tiny apple.
Indeed, indeed.
Moving on swiftly.
Yeah,
thank you very much, you two.
Terry. Now, it might have cooled down a bit now, but recent hot spells have increased the risk of wildfires in our region, and we've all been warned to take extra care on moorlands.
While controlled burning has been the traditional way of keeping heather growth under control, a pilot scheme in North Yorkshire is taking a fresh approach to what's an age-old problem.
Now, it's hoped it could eventually heat our homes and even help save the planet. In the meantime, it's helping to cook some very tasty pizzas, as Tom Barton has been finding out.
Up on Barningham Moor near Richmond, the heather is blossoming, the deep pinks and purples marking the turning of the seasons. But amid the beauty lies a danger.
As you can see here, it's knee-high now. Left to its own devices, it would end up being waist-high.
Overgrown heather, a wildfire risk, normally managed using fire itself.
And the really important thing about that management is that it's beneficial to the moor and the birds and so on that live here, but also it provides protection from wildfire. And wildfire is the real risk with this vegetation.
But here they're trying a new approach. Instead of burning the heather, it's being harvested. This machine working its way across the moor, cutting back the growth and collecting what it cuts. The heather is then put to use. A 3-year pilot project funded by the government, finding ways of turning it into fuel.
This is the heather that was cut a while ago. We've brought it down to the yard here and it's been drying in this dryer, and you can see now it's brown, very dry, very crisp, and that is ready to be taken away and pressed into briquettes, and this is the end product here. You get a briquette of compressed heather. There's enough energy in there to run a standard domestic kettle for about 3 hours. We thought, it's a fuel, it burns, can we not process it into a useful fuel so people can use it in their homes instead of burning oil and coal? And that really is the thinking behind the project. It's trying to use a locally produced material to heat homes and displace fossil fuels.
So just how well does the heather burn? To find out, we've come to the nearby Millbank Arms, where Dane is using the briquettes to heat his pizza oven. His topping, appropriately enough, grouse that has been shot on the moor.
Well, it's not every day you get to eat a pizza that's been cooked using heather instead of wood.
But let's have a look. That is delicious.
Delicious and better for the planet. Perhaps this could be a fuel of the future. Tom Barton, ITV News.
Oh, that makes me hungry now.
It does. Do you fancy a bit of grouse on your pizza?
Not particularly, no.
What would you like?
Cheese and tomato.
Basic?
Yeah, just keep it simple.
Pepperoni?
Why not?
Here's Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, hello again, thank you. We did okay today. A beautiful start, plenty of blue sky after some morning mist and fog. Just some patchy cloud into the afternoon, but staying dry. Basically, a slice of high pressure, keeping things relatively settled during the course of today. But you can see all this cloud waiting to the northwest, and that's housing a weather front that's going to work its way down during the course of tonight. So starting off dry with some clear spells for the evening, but later on into the early hours, cloud will eventually thicken and outbreaks of showery rain, potentially heavy at times, pepping up towards dawn, developing across many parts of the region, and definitely not as chilly as last night, and many of us staying in double figures. Still a few puddles around first thing this morning. Despite the dry day today, it was of course very wet yesterday. Big thank you to Steve for the shares. 6:37 and 7:26 are your sun times. So tomorrow, a bit unsettled first thing. That weather front will tend to fizzle out and push its way southwards, but produce quite a lot of cloud, a damp feel to things, misty and murky, and maybe even a few more intense pulses pushing our way during the afternoon. Either side, far north and far south, there could be some brighter spells, but it's definitely more disappointing compared to today's weather story. And this front has a stream, it's a trailing front, and that's going to push its way northwards on Friday, so actually probably give us a better day. So it's looking a bit more promising to end the week, drier, brighter, with some nice sunny spells, pretty much like today. But that trailing front does push further south as we head into Saturday, so it goes downhill again. Sunday could be dry and bright to start before again further spells of rain, so very mixed and up and down over the coming few days.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Gotta say, Kerry, I couldn't concentrate on that weather. I'm still thinking about those pizzas, to be honest. What do you have on your pizza?
Oh, it's got to be Four Seasons, of course.
Oh, of course it has. Yeah,
nice
like
one, well played.
Right, well, we'll all have to go out and eat pizza later on, but thanks very much for watching.
See you later.
Bye-bye.